call. We're going to get started right away because we only got 29 more minutes with you. Can you introduce yourself? Can you just like tell people who you are, what you've been doing, what you're involved in down there, what your challenges are, maybe what you're seeing around the country? Because I know you've done a lot of these calls for other market centers. What are you running into? What are you seeing? And what are you excited about coming up?
All right, cool. So sorry, I shouldn't have glanced at my phone. Okay, so my name is Michael Flores. I'm a maps bowl coach, and I have a mega real estate team or mega team in Houston, Texas. And we have 11 people on the team. We have 3 expansions. Part of those 11, there's 3 expansions. We'll do about 150 units this year, somewhere around there, which our average price point is probably around 258, 260. So kind of give you an idea of what kind of market we're in. So not too bad. And, you know, I got 3 kids. They're all at home doing homeschooling and stuff like that, like the rest of us, right? And I've been a MAPS bowl coach for a little over 3 years, about 3.5 years. And so that's a little bit about me. And I asked a friend of mine, his name is Cedric. He's on here, and he's a MAPS bowl coach, and I'll let him introduce himself. I asked him to join me on this call today.
Hey, good morning. So, yeah, I'm as well a MAPS ball coach, and Michael actually is a great friend of mine, and we're on the same market center. So, my wife and I run a team. We're not as big as Michael. We only have 8 people, and yet we have a very friendly competition. So my goal is to beat him this year again.
Again, he beat me one time in his life, and now he's excited. So, so what we've been seeing around the country is, and I'm monitoring the chat box, by the way, if you want to ask a question or you want to chat. I have some stuff for you, some coaching to do with you, and yet I'll tell you what we've been seeing around the country is, you know, I did a Zoom yesterday in Milwaukee. They had about 200 people on there down there in North Shore with the Stollies and Charlie and all them, and so they gave me an update of what's happening there in Wisconsin. And you know, you got places like New York where they can't cold call. You know, they're not allowed to show houses or do open houses, and they can call for business in their database. However, they're not allowed to do expireds or FSBOs or circle prospecting of any sort. They're not allowed to call. Basically, if you don't know them, you can't call them, right? So that's that. And then I talked to, and then in Pennsylvania, if you look at the state of Pennsylvania, they're not allowed to do any real estate. So some stuff is closing. If it didn't go pending until if it didn't go pending by March 18th, then it doesn't close. So they're not allowing inspectors or appraisers in houses. No real estate whatsoever is occurring in those states. You got people in California, even though they're essential, they're required to wear a mask or they get a $1,000 fine. So just different things like that. And then you got places like, you know, I think you guys are much like us. And Illinois, I just got off a call with Illinois just now, and I did Cedric and I talked to Florida yesterday, and where you just got to follow some, you know, you're essential. And I know in Texas, for instance, we're essential and we're allowed to do open house. We're allowed to do them. Nobody's doing them though, by the way. We're allowed to do open houses. Nobody's doing them. However, you can show houses, you can do listing appointments. They just ask you to honor the 6-foot rule, and they ask us to, you know, wear masks if we can. It's not mandatory or anything. And houses are still selling. We're, you know, and across the country, what I'm hearing in a lot of places is that the inventory's low and people are still buying, and they're getting multiple offers in many places. And so that's what we're seeing. That's what I'm seeing across the country as I talk to different agents. And so, you know, it really makes you grateful when you realize that you don't have a lot of the restrictions that some of the other places have. Does that make sense? And especially,
yeah, Michael,
yeah.
We do have at least one and maybe a couple of folks from Michigan on this call with us right now, and they are in a situation. Michigan rules are probably amongst the tightest in the country, where they literally are like, you don't go anywhere but go to the store and come home, and only one of you in the family can go. And I mean, it's like super tight. So if you can address some strategies for them as well, you know, because this is going to come to an end, right? Everything does. And at that point in time, we all want to hit the ground running, and we want to have full pipelines and things like that. And I think, you know, the opportunity with Bullet Pivot is amazing timing wise. Obviously, you know, it was put together just for this circumstance, but if you can address that as well, that would be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. So why don't I just share with you what I shared in Pennsylvania, and it applies to everybody, right? And so, you know, Cedric and I, we lived through a natural disaster called Hurricane Harvey, and it wiped out our area. And although you won't have a hurricane up there where you're at, you'd be very similar to coronavirus in that our business shut down. I mean, overnight, right? The storm came in, flooded a lot of our inventory, flooded, took out our pendings, took out our active listings. And we did, you know, there was no real estate happening really for 4 to 6 weeks, much of what you're seeing in Michigan and in Pennsylvania, where you can't really do anything, right? And we had to make a decision. We had to say, okay, what do we do now? Okay, what do we do now? And part of us wanted to quit and say, forget this, right? And then the rest of us said, well, we got to build a pipeline, because when real estate starts to come back, what we thought to ourselves is, when real estate comes back in the Houston market, we got to be ready, right? And we can't be okay, real estate's back and now let me make calls. We got to be building a pipeline today, so that when houses get fixed after the flood and people are confident in selling again, then we can have a pipeline of business, right? And what I would tell you is the things I'm going to give you 4 things that you can really do to build this pipeline. And I've been coaching this to a lot of Zooms, because it's the most relevant thing I can think of, Steve, right? Is having a hurricane come through and shut down your business is much like having coronavirus, all of a sudden, governor telling you can or can't do something.
Exactly.
Right. And so the reason I'm going to tell you these 4 things, and yet the reason I know they work, is this. Hurricane Harvey ended the August of 2017 is when it happened. We didn't really start going back into real estate until about mid-October, right? In the first quarter of 2018, okay, me with just an assistant. By the way, I lost my whole team during that time period. I had 6 people on my team. I went down to just me and an assistant. Okay. And the first quarter, January of 2018, that quarter, I took 23 listings, somewhere around there, on my own with just me and an assistant, while traveling around coaching both, right? And so I'm going to give you, now, of course, I did what Bowl teaches you to do. I did the 100 contacts a week, right? I did all the things you're supposed to do. I blocked my calendar, right? I'm a Bowl coach. So I did all the things I'm supposed to do. And yet I did 4 specific things different than what you would learn maybe in a Bowl classroom, right? The first thing I did is I became a connector, right? And feel free to take notes if this helps you, okay? I became a connector. So in other words, when I called my database, I didn't just say, how are you doing? I asked them, how can I serve you? What can I do for you? Is there anything you need that you don't have? And what I did is I identified those with a need, and I partnered them with those who could solve the need and brought them together, right? And agents like Cedric and I, we were cleaning out houses. We were delivering sheetrock. We were delivering plywood. We were taking people to shelters. We were delivering food. We were doing all kinds of crazy stuff, because that's all we could do, right? So the first thing we did was we became a connector, and we asked people for the need, and then we found them the people who could solve it. Now, that doesn't mean it's your money. It doesn't even mean it's your time, right? Like Julie in Michigan, you can't even leave your house. So maybe it's not about you leaving. It's about being able to connect those people in a different way, right? So for instance, recently I heard somebody who said that they have a neighbor who has a kid with a, it's not autistic. He is autistic, and yet it's called Asperger's. He has Asperger's, right? And so what happens is she needs somebody who can help him with Asperger's, because the social workers in New York are not going out to help people. So she needed that help. So when she started looking for that help, she found somebody who could call the kid via Zoom, and they were able to have a counseling session via Zoom for free to that neighbor. That's being a connector. Does that make sense? Julie wrote, I'm part of a Facebook group called Mask for, and we are making homemade perfect. That's a great idea, right? Stuff like that, Julie. So be a connector. Now, in Wisconsin, if you can go travel around and you can go take stuff to people, or you can deliver stuff, or have people deliver things, or doing those things, that's great, right? Find the need and figure out a way to help solve the need, okay? Number one. Number two is be a real estate resource. And what that means is on social media, text messaging, and email, all three platforms, letting them know what's going on in the economy and letting them know what's going on in real estate, okay? So in Michigan, if there's 0 closings happening in Michigan, then you're not going to put that out there, right? However, you might put out there what's going on with the governor, or what's going on with the PPP payment program, or what's going on with small business loans, or what's happening with lenders, right? You might just put out some information. In Wisconsin, you could definitely put, hey, 25 listings came on the market, 26 sold, there were 13 closings yesterday, or whatever, right? You can put out that information. You know, recently Chase Bank said that they're only going to take loans of 700 and 20% down, 700 credit score and 20% down, okay? Well, if I'm a consumer and I don't know the real estate industry and I read that, it's possible that I believe that that's for every lender. Does that make sense? And yet it's not every lender doing that, okay? Not every lender says 700 score and 20% down. So as a real estate resource, you could provide information to them about how there's other doing things, right? I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show you some ideas here. So one of the things I did whenever, there's my calendar. It's so awesome. Red means Zooms. So let me move my screen here. Can you see the internet? Can you see my internet screen? Yes? Okay, thanks, Cedric. So listen, one of the things you can do really easy is I like to go to Yahoo Finance or Yahoo Money. And right here, you find all types of articles to send out that are about what's happening in the real estate world, what's happening in the economy, right? And do your best to not pick sides from a political standpoint or religion or any of those things, right? Be very neutral, okay? So like this one, Fed to announce policy update. If all you did was take that article and shared it on Facebook and said, hey, this is an interesting read, and that's all you wrote. It didn't say that you agree with it or don't agree with it, right? It doesn't say any of those things. It just says this is interesting. And you do that, then what happens is you become a real estate resource. You become somebody that people will listen to because you're providing information, right? I like that, Lauren. Thank you for taking notes for us, right? Okay, the third thing is, oh, I just slipped my brain. Okay, the third thing is be real. Be real with people. Okay? In other words, be honest. Be honest with yourself. It's okay to take a break. It's okay if you're tired, if you need a break, it's okay. It's okay to tell people, if some people say, well, how are you doing? If I was Julie, I'd be like, you know, honestly, I'm doing okay health-wise, and yet we can't do real estate, so really my business is suffering. I mean, why not just be honest? Right? Too many times we tell people we're doing good, we're doing great. And you know what? They get off the call and they forget about you because they figure you're doing great. And yet if you're just honest with them, hey, my real estate business is really hurting. So if you know anybody looking to buy or sell when this thing is over, please let me know because I'm really going to need some help. Like if you're honest with people, then they'll come to your rescue. What you'll find in society in general, and the news doesn't want you to believe this, is that people really do want to help people. People do really want for you to succeed. They want to see you happy. They want you to succeed, okay? And so if you're just honest with them of where you're at, like when Hurricane Harvey hit, people were calling me like, hey, are you okay? I'm like, man, to be honest with you, I need some real estate business. I lost 12 listings and 13 pendings. I need some business. And they're like, all right, man, if I think about it, I'll let you know. And it started trickling in, and then boom, first quarter, all of a sudden, it was amazing, right? We got back on our feet, okay? And it took me a full year. It took me all of 2018 and portions of 2019 to get back to where I was. And now we're doing great this year, and yet it took a lot to recover. And it doesn't mean we didn't do any business. It just means we didn't do the levels we know we're capable of because it just took time to come back, right, to where we used to be. And then the fourth thing I would tell you to do is be a positive voice in a negative world, right? Be a positive voice in a negative world. Send out texts, send out emails, send out social media, do videos, right? I think, and this is not picking on the people who's not showing their video because I don't know your situation. You may be in a place where you can't. That's cool. However, I think it's super awesome that we have this Zoom because I'll tell you what, like a guy like me, I hated the camera, right? Because the camera, I'm convinced the camera puts 100 pounds on me. Anybody else like believe that? Like, that's what I think, right?
It's the same for me, Michael.
So I've never been a fan of the camera. I've never been like that guy. And now all of a sudden, because I've done 40 something Zooms with all the different market centers around the country, now I'm in love with this webcam and I can create videos and I have a studio behind me that I can create videos with. And so we have to embrace a different technology. If you're not embracing it, then you got to embrace it and you got to be a positive voice in the negative world, right? And now some of us will say, now I see some pictures on here, so you all look really young. And so this may sound stupid. And yet I'm going to show you, like, this isn't hard. People make this hard. You don't have to be a wordsmith. Look, all you got to do is go to the Google. The Google tells you everything. And I call it the Google on purpose. So you can go to Google and all you got to do is put positive, can I spell it right, please? Positive memes. There we go. Positive memes, images. Boom. The world opens up with 1,000 different things that people come up with, right? And you can use any of them. Me, should you really get a job? Enter me. Write a think piece about memes, right? Like, you can just come up with funny stuff, right? You can come up here and type in funny memes, right? And you just put something on there. And I'm going to scroll fast because God knows what comes up on that one. And so, right? You never know. So what I will share with you is that you don't have to be the genius who creates it. All you got to be is the person who knows how to save an image and post it on social media, or send it out via Facebook, or send it out via email or a text message, and just be a positive voice. And what happens is when you're a connector, when you're a real estate resource, when you're real with people, and when you are a positive voice in a negative world, all of a sudden referrals start to come in when people can and will list their homes. And they'll think of you, right? And it comes down to that. That's really that simple, Steve. And that's what we did during the hurricane. That's what we're doing now. And I know I don't have the circumstances of Michigan. However, if I was in Michigan, I would be building a pipeline, and my pipeline would have 3 categories. It would have selling when this is over, selling within 6 months, selling in the future, right? Like, I would have 3 categories of people who are waiting for this to be released, for real estate to be open, people who say within 6 months, and then people who say, yeah, we will one day. We'll wait with 3, 4, 5 months, right? And what I would do is I would do that, okay? I like this tip about image searching. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's right. I love it. Won't take you into as bad as Pinterest. Yeah, that's true. And so what I will tell you is that that's what I would do if I was in Michigan. And that's what I did during the Hurricane Harvey is I just created categories. Okay, who's going to sell in the next 6 months? Who's going to sell as soon as their house is ready from being fixed from the hurricane? And then who's going to sell one day? And those are the categories we created. And we stayed in touch with those people, and the pipeline grew and it grew. And then you take 20 something listings in a quarter with just you and an assistant while traveling for both 3 days a week. Right? And it happens. So that's what I have for now. I'll stop there. What questions, comments? Cedric, do you want to add anything to anything I said? You lived through it too.
Definitely. When we went to Harvey, I know you lost all your business. I lost all my business as well. And, the bold, low, fear or faith you choose resonate to me all the time because, like me, you were watching TV on August 29, and it wasn't pretty in Houston. And looking at the signs, street signs underwater was, wow, I have some listing over there. I have some listing there. And I know my business was wiped out on Monday night. And Tuesday morning, I choose faith. and got back to business and call all the people in my database and tell them I care about them. What can I do for you?
Yep.
And guess what? January was the best month ever in my career. We closed $5 million. So, I don't think what we are going through right now is going to impact you if you do the care call and touch your database. Your business is going to thrive.
Yeah,
and you're going to have the best business ever. Maybe in 40 days, maybe in 60 days, who knows? Yet, if you're doing the activities right now, I am so confident that you're going to come out of this winning. Because we have a chance.
And look, I don't want to paint the picture of this. Yeah, and I don't want to, sorry to cut you off, Cedric. I don't want to paint the picture that the next 60 to 90 days isn't going to be tough. I don't want to paint that picture. I don't want to give you heard me say no real estate, wiped out business, no real estate for about 6 weeks, and then it started trickling in. I'll tell you what, from the end of August to early January, it was rough. I'm not going to lie to you. It was not easy. Okay? And by the way, I was out coaching bowl during that time. So I was in front of a bowl room bringing energy and coaching and doing all the things, and sometimes going to my hotel room like, what am I going to do? Right? Sometimes laying in bed, I'm being very honest with you guys. You guys don't know me from Adam, and I'm just going to be honest with you. Sometimes laying in bed crying like, how am I going to do this? And it wasn't about the money. It was about how do I create my business to survive, right? I was making money coaching bowl and taking that money and throwing it to my real estate team just so that our real estate team could keep going, right? And so what I would tell you is that it's not going to be easy. I know that. I'm not. However, you got to pick yourself up like I did, and you got to wipe out the tears or wipe off the worry, and you got to pick up the phone and you got to do some work. And that way, when this all opens up again, when you can do, now in Wisconsin, you can do some of this and go take listings and do all that. However, my Michigan friends, when it all opens up again, you can then say, here I go. I've created a pipeline of business and I'm ready to rock, right? And I'm praying for you that the governor doesn't go much longer and they start to release some things. I don't know. I haven't looked at Michigan news lately. I usually, and it's my fault, Steve, because I usually before I get on the call, I look at the states, what the governor's doing. That's how come I know what's happening in Wisconsin. I didn't realize I had Michigan on here too. So I apologize for my Michigan people that I didn't look at it ahead of time. So are there any questions that you'd like or anything you want us to answer? And thank you for the comments saying you're loving this and that you like what we're saying. And yet we're here to serve you. So how can we serve you for the next 5 minutes or so? What is it that we can do for you?
Hey, Michael, it's Julie. I am in Michigan. Thank you very much for addressing that. Not to worry at all. I find your energy and all the B statements that you share today, be a connector, be a real estate resource, be real, and be positive, to be very motivational and inspirational. It doesn't matter what state you're in, that is of value. So thank you for providing that value. I'm super excited this morning, even though I'm pretty restricted. I'm just looking at my numbers. I live in an area where my average transaction is probably between 180,000. I'm sorry, 80 to 100,000. Let me get that out right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, very, very rural, very, and yet my numbers are really great. I'm on track right now to probably have the best month I've had ever. I started in real estate in June of 2018, and my May is going to be close to 600,000 right now, which is huge for me. Huge. So,
I love that.
Julie.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So, it can be done. If I can do it up here, it can be done.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the warning. Whoever just warned us, we only have 5 minutes.
Thanks, Chris.
Who else? Any other questions? How can we help you?
Does anybody that's not signed up for Bold Pivot have any questions that they can answer? Because I just think it's going to be the coolest Bold ever with, 20 or 30,000 agents. And I just love that it's, how it's going to be delivered in the coach's corner. And Is anyone not
Yeah,
signed up that is
absolutely.
planning to sign up, but you have waited because you had questions?
Well, Lauren, I appreciate you bringing that up. For most of you, you won't know this, but when Bold Pivot was first announced, it wasn't like it is now. It was just going to be, there were going to be a handful of market centers, and KW Green Bay, we put in immediately, as soon as it became available, we put in for a spot in May. And Michael was actually assigned to us as our Bold coach. And of course, at the time, we didn't know that it was going to be opened up to the whole country and there were going to be all those people on it. We were just going to host it right here in our market center, and Michael was the guy. And so Michael and I connected at that time and began our friendship and relationship. And then as things progressed, it turned into what it is now. So Michael, thank you for that. And I would just say, if you like what you're hearing this morning, and I'll tell you, I sure do. We know a number of Bold coaches. Everybody's here has been through Bold, a time or two or three. This is our third call with a Bold coach. So we had Pat Miller, we had Curtis Tyree, and all these guys, Michael and Cedric. You're here today. Our friend Bob Camacho from Texas is going to be with us on Friday morning. And every time, you can ask the same questions or whatever, and you get different insights and from different experience. And so you're going to be one of those coaches, Michael, in the coach's corner, are you not?
Yeah, I think I'm going to be asked to do it. Right now, they haven't selected them all, and yet I think I'll be asked to do one. Yes,
Yeah.
I think so.
Well, if you need a reference, we're loving what you're saying, and I know we're coming right to the end here, but the notes I made, be that connector, be that resource, be honest and real, and be the light in the world, right? I mean, that's our job anyway, as human beings. That's our job, is to go out there and be the light, or, like you said, be the positive voice amongst the negative. So I'm loving this, and I'm just going to encourage anybody if you haven't signed up for Bold, man, it's like $3 an hour.
Yeah, I got it up on here. It's $99. It's mapscoaching.com, and it's 8 hours of coaching a week. And this is what the schedule looks like, Steve. And it's not classroom, by the way. It's live stream, 1 to 3 Central Time, and then Coach's Corner is on Wednesday and Friday. These are optional coaching sessions, these 2 hours. These are the ones that we really encourage you. These are more mandatory. However, the classroom on Tuesdays and Thursdays, these will be recorded for you. So if you miss a session, you can go back and watch it. And then the Coach's Corner are meant for you to come in and out, for you to ask questions or have a coach work with you on anything you need, or to dive deeper into the material. So it's for the month of May. It's $99. We also have the Bold Pivot Facebook page, which is where we're doing a lot of our coaching as well. And so you can't get a better value than that. And before we leave, I want to leave you with this. There's 2 ways to say what happened, right? The first way is, Julie, what happened? How did you have such a great year? Like, tell us all about it, Julie. Tell us, how did you get through coronavirus? Like, that's one way to say what happened. Would you guys agree with that? Like, what happened? Okay. The other way to say what happened is, oh my God, what just happened? Right? How did I get here? Oh my goodness, what is going on with my life? How did these bills stack up? How did I not get where I have no business? Right? And so we have 2 ways to say what happened. And at the end of this year, which way are you going to say what happened? Is it going to be what happened in a good way? Like, these are all the things we did, let's do it again. Or is it going to be like, oh my gosh, what happened? I never want to live that year again. And you get to decide. That's the cool thing, right? And right now, I know some of the governors are deciding for us, and yet they're not going to keep us locked down like this forever, right? And once that opens up, I encourage you to have that pipeline ready. Because in Houston, when we had that hurricane come through, we built that pipeline. And those of us who are still around, and those of us who thrived, it was because we did that. Even when we felt like people didn't want to hear from us, even when we felt weird talking about real estate because people were flooded out, it didn't matter. We ignored some of that. We became from a place of contribution and love, and they didn't see us as being ambulance chasers. They saw us as people who really wanted to help them, because we did. We did help them, right? So that's what I want to leave you with. And I want to thank you for your time, and I trust that this was helpful. Please sign up for Bold Pivot. This market center already has 40 people signed up. Let's get another 10, 20, 30 people signed up for Bold Pivot. And Steve, thank you for inviting us to be here.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Cedric. And thanks everybody on this call. Love y'all. Take care.
Thank you both. Thank you
Yeah,
very
bye.
much.
See ya.